טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יאללה, יאללה, לה, 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יאללה, יאללה, לה, 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Congregation Orami, especially if it's your first time here ever or just in a long while. So very glad to have you here celebrating Shabbat with us, and welcome also to those who are joining us from home through our live stream. We begin our service together at the top of page 1 with the opening reflection, and let's read this in English. Blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one who gains understanding, for the acquisition of wisdom is better than the acquisition of silver or gold. We continue at the bottom of the page with Rabbi Meir's quote. Rabbi Meir once said, "Do not look at the vessel, but rather at what it contains. There are new vessels that are filled with old wine, and old vessels that do not even contain new wine." We continue together in the middle of page 2. The open door. May the door to this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for connection. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, and hopes to nurture. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. And we continue with Shir Chadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. And we continue at the bottom of page 3 with the 4 types of students. There are 4 types among those who sit before the sages: the sponge, the funnel, the strainer, and the sieve. The sponge absorbs all. The funnel takes in at one end and lets it all out the other. The strainer rejects the wine and retains the sediment, and the sieve rejects the coarse flour and retains the fine flour. Continue on page 4. I'd like to invite up Susan to light our Shabbat candles this week.
As we kindle the lights of Shabbat, may the world be filled with warmth and radiance. May our hearts be filled with hope and joy. May our minds be filled with wisdom and understanding. And may our lives be filled with love and peace.
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. All right. Thank you, Susan. At this point in our service, we think of the week that has passed and we hold on to all of the good things from this past week. So if you had an experience that inspired gratitude, if you have some good news to share, no matter how big or how small, I invite you to share that joy with the community now. Yeah, Isabel?
Our dog has recovered from an attack of vertigo.
Good. I'm glad your dog's doing better. I didn't know dogs got vertigo, but that makes sense. Glad he's feeling better. Yes, Susan?
I'm looking forward to my dear sister Beth joining us from Portland and for a sisters reunion, 3 sisters reunion.
Awesome. Sounds like a wonderful time. Daniela?
Found out my sister's pregnant, so I'm going to be an aunt.
Oh, Mazel Tov. It's very exciting to become an aunt. And Jack?
I'm going to be my expander in a couple of weeks.
Very cool. Congratulations. And Lori?
I have good news right before I left home that my husband does not have pneumonia, so I'm very happy.
That's great news. Glad to hear. It's always a good day when you don't have pneumonia. So we thank God for all of these blessings of family and recovering from health conditions and the blessing of simply being alive for this moment in time. The words of Shehechianu near the top of page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. And we continue with the responsive reading on the bottom of page 5. Ben Zoma used to say, "Who is wise? Those who strive to learn something from every person. Who is strong? Those who overpower their negative inclinations. Who is rich? Those who are satisfied with what they already have. Who is honorable? Those who consistently honor their fellow human beings." And we continue with Lecha Dodi on page 6. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikadem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva orech umiori, uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai alaich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nekabela. We rise together and face the entrance to symbolically welcome in the presence of Shabbat. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'betola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, peni Shabbat nekabela. The top of page 7 from Proverbs. Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and needy. And we remain standing for our official call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, in the middle of page 8. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Page 9. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We remain standing for the most important prayer, the Shema, the top of page 10. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, vidibarta bam, bishivtecha b'veitecha, uvalechtecha vaderech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, uvshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam, Amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha liman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Lihiot lachem Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. And we continue together in the middle of page 11 with the responsive reading. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I, the Lord, am your God who led you out of Egypt. I, the Lord, am your God. We continue on page 13 with Escaping Mitzrayim. Holy One of blessing, liberate our minds from the Mitzrayim, or narrow confines of our own making. Grant us wisdom and understanding, vision and insight, so that we may see through all of the illusions and delusions in this world and cast our eyes firmly upon truth instead. Help us to discover our true purpose, to uncover the meaning of our existence, and to find our ways in this world as we journey together from Mitzrayim to freedom. We continue with Micha Mocha, the bottom of page 13. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 Micha Mocha Elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar bakoresh Nora tehilot osefele Nora tehilot osefele. And we continue on page 14, celebrating Shabbat with the words of Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berit olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael Oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash Shabbat vaynafash Shabbat vaynafash Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berit olam. And we continue with the first reflection in the middle of page 14. Rabbi Hillel once said, "What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow human being. That is the whole Torah. All the rest is a commentary. Now go and learn it." Please rise for our central prayer, the Amidah, on page 15. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi geula lifnei vneihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל, אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך mechaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Please be seated. We continue with a quiet moment for personal prayer or reflection. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who are in need of healing. Tonight we think especially of Alyssa Freeman, Beth Raniclev, Terry Schneier, Linda Woods, and Wynn Loria. Are there other loved ones whose healing we wish to pray for tonight? With the power of community, we pray for their refuah shlema, their complete healing of body and or spirit, with the words of Mishaberach found at the top of page 19. Mishaberach avotenu mikor habracha May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu Mikor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. So this week's Torah portion, called Shoftim, discusses many topics related to justice and truth. And one topic, and I was going through all my files, what have we not talked about from this Torah portion before? One we've never discussed before is that of prophecy, and specifically of false prophets. So Deuteronomy chapter 18 from this portion is addressing the Israelites when Moses is near the end of his life and of his long career as a prophet. The Israelite people are really starting to wonder what they will do when Moses is no longer around. Who is going to offer them guidance and clarity when this great prophet is gone? So God tries to reassure the Israelites that there will be a new, trustworthy prophet to lead them after Moses. But God warns the people that a number of false prophets will arise as well. Anticipating their next question, the Torah continues in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 21, saying, "And if you wonder in your heart, how can we know if an alleged prophet's message is or is not an actual message from God?" And the answer given is based on results. If someone claims to be a prophet, speaking in the name of God, and they say that the world is ending on Tuesday, but we all wake up to our alarm clocks on Wednesday morning, you have your answer. They were a false prophet. But to paraphrase one of my professors from rabbinical school, Rabbi Ruvain Firestone, if they were a clever false prophet, they would speak in generalities rather than in clear statements that could be quickly disproven. So just some practical advice if you're thinking of switching career paths and trying your hand at false prophecy. But jokes aside, I'd like to have a brief but meaningful discussion together about prophecy, truth, and guidance. So the first question, and anyone can answer, there's no right or wrong responses. Whatever your life experiences are and thoughts are in this moment. So the first question is, do you think someone should be called a false prophet if part of their message was false, but another part of that message was true? Why or why not? Can you be half a liar?
Could he be just mistaken rather than a liar that he thinks or she thinks that he actually can prophesy? On the other hand,
Okay, so Fran's offering a very compassionate answer. And Jack, do you want to help us with the microphone? So Fran was offering a lot of compassion, right? Sometimes people are wrong, and it's not their intention to deceive. Like, they may have genuinely thought they were a prophet and said some bizarre things, right? And oops, they were just mistaken. It happens. We all have those weird prophet days, right? Any other thoughts on can you be half a liar, or if you're a false prophet, does everything have to be false, or can there be some truth in what you say? So Margaret, do you have your hand up? You want to?
I think you can't have half a lie and half truth. I think it's either all or nothing, but you can have some truth in the lies. Matter of fact, probably the best lies are ones with some truth in it. And it's like you're either pregnant or you're not. You know, it's just one of those kind of things. You're either telling the truth or you're not. But I like the compassionate view, but I think a lot of times people who are telling lies sometimes intend to tell a lie.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes lies, especially effective lies, have just enough truth that they can be spread and seem legit for a while. John? Bring the microphone.
So I come from a profession where people make forecasts.
Mm-hmm.
Forecasts are often wrong. In fact, forecasts in a sense are always wrong because a forecaster recognizes the inherent uncertainty in what he or she is trying to predict. Prophecy seems to me to be an assertion of certainty. So there should be a higher bar, I think, for judging.
So no forecasting for prophets.
No.
So they wouldn't cut
No
it as
forecast error
meteorologists
is not allowed.
Yeah. Good. Any other thoughts on this question? Yeah, Jack, you want to share?
Actually, it's like I think you can have like a little bit of false, but it should be mostly true. Like, I mean, it's okay to tell a white lie.
It's an important lesson from religious school. All right, we'll repeat that one. No. Go ahead. Oh, so a white lie. So for example, if you have a new jacket and it's like bright orange, and orange is not my favorite color, but you're so happy about it, and you ask me, do you like my new jacket? Is it okay for me to say, yeah, it's great. It makes you look so happy, right? Is that a white lie?
It's kind of not, but kind of is. So you're lying that you like it, but you're trying to cover it up by making them feel good. So I have no idea if that's a white lie or not.
Okay, to be determined later. Yeah, you want to bring Margaret the microphone?
I think sometimes within the truth, there might be a little lie for the protection of who is receiving the message. Sometimes some people don't need to know certain facts that could be upsetting or scare people. And I'm thinking maybe that little bit of falsehood, I'll put, is just kind of for their protection as opposed to the blunt truth.
Yeah, so we have a few different words. We have white lies, we have sugarcoating, right? And the Talmud talks a little bit about this. So there's a famous story where the angels come to Abraham and Sarah when they're in their 90s, and they're like, guess who's going to be new parents this year? And Sarah hears the message first, and she laughs. She thinks it's hilarious that her 90-something-year-old husband is finally going to be a father. And when God is reporting the story to Abraham, he omits the part that, like, Sarah basically calls him an old man who could never father a kid, right? So out of compassion, right, getting back to that aspect that Fran brought to our conversation, sometimes we leave out details that aren't necessary, right? We can hear that something amused someone, but we don't need to know a hurtful reason why that may have been the case, especially if they've grown since then and wouldn't make the same mistake. Ron and then Stan.
Thank you. Well, I think the whole idea of prophecy is a really bad idea.
So we're not going to sign Ron up for being a prophet. And Stan?
Well, I think we've been talking about it as if the person knows that they're lying. And, you know, certainly a false prophet, anyone who knows that what they're saying is a lie is a false prophet. But there's also the person who's deluded who absolutely believes that he is. You know, so that, you know, believing it himself doesn't necessarily, you know, give it validity.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of a song lyric. It's like, so I conned, I lied to me too, right? So sometimes we trick ourselves, right, into believing something, whether we're aware of it or not, and then that becomes like the truth to us that we share with others, and it turns out not to be true. Getting back to kind of rabbinic commentary, one of the most famous commentators, Rashi, an 11th century French rabbi, talks about 3 different types of false prophets. So one is just someone who completely makes up a message. They're not inspired by anything. They're just like, wouldn't it be fun to like play prophet today? Another one is a false prophet who plagiarizes his truthful message from someone else. So the message itself is 100% true, but it's copied from his classmates' homework, right? And then the third one, in Rashi's opinion, is if you have a true message, but you say it in the name of the wrong God, right? We're moving towards monotheism, so instead of like, oh, like God said this, if you're like, oh, the Canaanite deity El said we should do this. So in all 3 of these cases, it's possible for the message itself to be true, even if the prophet or the messenger of that is bringing some falsehood to the circumstances. So they give very specific example in the Talmud. Let's say a prophet who's speaking in the name of some other deity says, it is a mitzvah to shake the lulav, right? That's true according to the Torah, but if they say it in the name of some other god, then that qualifies them as a false prophet. So another indication of true prophecy in biblical times was usually the prophets would be offering uncomfortable truths. They would often criticize rulers for oppressing poor people, and sometimes that would get the prophets thrown into jail or sometimes executed. So kings tended to prefer the false prophets who would say, like, whatever they wanted to hear, like, you're doing a great job, you can do no wrong, and we're definitely going to win this upcoming battle. So whenever there's a prophet that's like, actually, we're going to lose because the king's too corrupt and had spent all the money on his new jacuzzi instead of the equipment to keep, you know, the soldiers safe. So That leads us to our second question, is would you rather have someone tell you something untrue but pleasant, or something true but unpleasant?
There's actually a whole book written on this. I can't remember his name, but it's called Useful Delusions. And it's written by the guy who has a program at 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoons on NPR. And he says, without useful delusions, we would be much unhappier than we are. And he begins the book by telling the story of riding with his 4-year-old daughter in the car, and she says, "Can Rudolph really fly?" And he says, "No, honey, reindeers can't fly." And then she says, "But how are the Christmas presents going to be delivered then?" And he realizes he's on a very dangerous path to be on. And he manages to extricate himself for it. So there are a lot of useful delusions that we all have, and he makes a really strong case for like telling somebody they're going to get well when they're not, or I don't know, there's a whole book full of them. It's very complicated psychology, but according to him, a lot of psychological studies have proven that people are better off with delusions a lot of time than knowing the unvarnished truth.
So delusions can be helpful, and maybe we call it forecasting, as John said, right? If we don't really know what's going to happen in the future, is it so bad to give a more positive forecast, right? Like, doctors aren't really sure if someone's going to recover, but there's a chance. If you tell them you're definitely going to die, you've got about 15 minutes left, right? That's not going to give them a lot of hope to keep fighting. But if you tell them, you know, a number of people have survived for years in your condition, right, and improved, that might give them what they need to keep fighting and to rest and recover. So it's hard to know what the future holds. Susan and then Isabel.
The imagination is a wonderful thing. My 7-year-old grandson and I were reading the comic strips in a book of Calvin and Hobbes. And I said to him, my grandson, you know, Hobbes is not real. He's Calvin's conscience. And my grandson, Russell, said, what adults don't understand is that Hobbes is real. And I told him, yes, you are absolutely right, because this is all about creativity and imagination and hope and fun. Thank you.
Good.
I think sometimes we need to get a little of both. I know there are these circumstances where, just even in like a medical situation, as you mentioned, where let's say the doctor says to you, well, I have good news and bad news. And you could say, well, give me the good news first. Mm-hmm. And that way you can sort of ease your way into the uncomfortable or bad situation. So sometimes you need a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm. So positive and negative, is it good to have truth and lies together? Or do you want to put those all in different boxes of positive, negative, true, false? Are they their own things? Yeah. Jack, you want to add something?
I think I agree. So like maybe we should have like half truth, but we should also have some half false, but only if it'll help us figure out the truth.
All right. Future false prophet in the making. Here we go. So it's good. Sometimes mistakes and untruths can help us realize what is important or true, right? So it's not so bad to come across something that's false right? That can teach us something valuable. So the last question is, have you ever had a Moses figure in your life who you could always count on to speak the truth and share valuable guidance? And if so, who was that person, and what was one of the best pieces of advice they gave you? All right, Jack will start us off.
My mom.
Mhm. And any advice she's given you that's been really helpful?
So much I cannot pick just one.
That's good. Good. Excellent answer. Yeah. Do you think most people would look to their parents as that figure? They're kind of Moses offering them guidance and truth to start them off? So we've got some yeses, some nos. Daniela?
Thank you. I think as much as it hurts to sometimes hear the truth, it can like really empower people, whether it's like in a medical setting or something. And I feel like we all have that one friend who like tells it like it is kind of thing. So even though it might be harsh at the time, it's nice to know that if you have a go-to person, like they're gonna tell you the truth. And I've had coworkers like that and say like, oh, you really messed up there. And although at the time it hurts, I think it can be really productive. And sometimes like you just need to put your feelings aside and realize that the truth hurts for a reason, and maybe that's your own ego or something else, but it can be really productive too.
Awesome. Yeah, the Torah talks about the importance of rebuking our friends, right? Instead of just like letting them go off on a destructive path, right? We can say like, I'm concerned, like this doesn't seem to be good. Put it out there, and they can be like, I don't care, our friendship's over. Or they can say like, thank you for having the courage to bring this up. It shows me that you're willing to do difficult things for the sake of our relationship. Did someone else have a hand up? Yeah, Isabel?
I'd have to say my mother and my mother-in-law, because they never minced words. You always knew where you stood. And I think that you knew where you stood, and I think that was important. You never knew that they were going to put something over on you, or that they weren't going to tell you what you needed to hear. So I thank both of them.
Good. So it's good to have parents and parents-in-law that you can trust. And Ron?
I agree with that. It's always nice to have somebody say, well, this is none of my business, but it's good to sort of ease into bad news gently, I think. But I've had lots of people who have, if I asked their advice, neither of my parents gave unsolicited advice. And I think that, but they always responded to questions thoroughly and, tastefully and gently. But I think unsolicited advice is very difficult for most people to hear, especially if it's given all the time or too frequently.
Mm-hmm. So having some humility, right, to say, I don't know if this is the time or place to say it, but I would like to bring this up. And they can say, I'm not open to feedback at this moment, or yes, please tell me like what I can be doing better in life.
I very frequently tell people I'm going to give advice. This is none of my business, but it is my concern. Mm-hmm. And that makes it, and I don't do it very often, but that's really, it helps a lot, I think, in creating an open mind for them to hear what you're going to say.
Good. So Kathy?
Yeah, thank you. This brings to mind something that just recently I saw some older family members, and so I'm reminded that historically, the culture in Richmond, to be well-to-do, a certain tact level is there. So you can say something like that. I mean, it's socially acceptable, and I'm talking old school. But you have to put it in a certain way. So I think that's kind of repeating some of what has been said, but I think what's important is it's embedded in the broader culture. So it's not so much right or wrong, but it's like the way it's done.
Mm-hmm. So there's some social customs on how we offer constructive criticism. And the Talmud has some advice from, 1,500, 2,000 years ago. It's best not to do that in public, right? It's best to pull someone aside rather than, embarrass them in front of everyone else. To be gentle, to be humble, and be aware, right? Are they open to that advice in that moment, or should you save it for when they're in a better, more receptive mood, right? There's ways to offer important feedback that can be more effective. So any last comments or thoughts on these topics? Yeah, David?
I find that the older I get, the more I'm attracted. The older I get, the more I'm attracted to a benevolent blend of truth and hope.
Very nice. I feel like I should open a coffee shop now and sell Benevolent Blend. All right. Turn off the power button. So I think that's a good note to end on, that benevolent blend. We have compassion with truth, right? So that we can be most effective in our relationships in this world. All right, before we continue our service, I'd like to invite up Leah to share some brief announcements on behalf of the board.
Shabbat Shalom. Just a couple of announcements. This Sunday at 5:30, there's Real Theology. So 5:30 to 6 is a potluck dinner, and then at 6 o'clock is the movie, and then a discussion with the rabbi afterwards. Ron, did you want to add anything? Except we're not supposed to go online and research the movie, right?
Well, it'd be more powerful if you watch it cold. And this is really a great movie and really made the fame of this Japanese filmmaker, and it has very easy to read subtitles.
Okay, and
it's applicable to Judaism, particularly Rosh Hashanah.
And on August 26th, we will be having the bar mitzvah of Dylan Lubker, am I saying that right, at 10:30. And I think that's about it. Anything else?
Thank you, Leah. And we're still looking for a couple more English readers, people to help out with High Holy Day things. So if you haven't filled out the form yet that's in our weekly email and also on our Facebook page, please take a moment to just click, yes, I would do this, nope, I would not do that, and let us know if you're willing to help out. Great. Now we continue our service with Aleinu in the middle of page 20. Please rise for the Aleinu prayer. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, melo samanu kemishpechot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vigor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo At this point in our service, we think of loved ones who have passed away recently or at this time in years past. Tonight we remember with love the yardsites of Julie Bell, cousin of Jane Katz, Susie Burnside, longtime member of ORME, Hyman Cohen, grandfather of Erica Napolitano, Gay Cook, sister of Russ Jennings, Irene Fisher, mother of Ellen Hofheimer, Minnie George, aunt of Art Matz, Joseph Levine, father-in-law of Beth Levine, Dorothy Shamaskin, mother of Ron Shamaskin, Rabbi Levi Smoller, former rabbi of ORME and husband of Dr. Marcia Penn, and Sadie Sohat, grandmother of Terry Schneier. Are there other loved ones we wish to remember tonight? Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be a blessing. We remain standing as a community of support for the Mourners Kaddish on page 22. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, B'alma divrach hirute v'amlich malchute, B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olomei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort for all who are bereaved. And let us say, amen. Please be seated. We conclude our service tonight in the middle of page 23 with Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, 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 aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. And thank you to Patricia for playing tonight. Please return your services to the table near the entrance and join us in the back for Kiddush and Motzi. Shabbat Shalom.